seem to have quite a few people coming up, and we probably should go for another 10, 15 minutes. Can I take 2 questions at a time and then get both Martyn and Paul to respond, so you'll both have to listen more carefully?
Actually, I have 3 questions. My name is Kolawole Olani. I work for Amnesty International here in London. Paul and the rest of the team, I have to applaud you really for the remarkable achievements that you have achieved in many of these cases, especially in Trafigura case, because incidentally, I was one of the lawyers that fought very hard to stop the execution through our judicial system. But unfortunately, it didn't happen. But that is not the point here. The point I want to, I think one of the, my first point is how much of the issues of corruption was raised as kind of a contributing factors in this grand conspiracy, like between government and these corporations. How much of that was a kind of a factor in the outcome or in the decisions that were reached in this, some of these cases? Then the second point is, I mean, one point that you've been able to achieve or prove is the fact that the need to have corporate accountability. But I'm interested in seeing how can we move beyond that to state accountability, to using the kind of jurisprudence or principles that you've been able to obtain through this litigation, to use them as a kind of a mobilizing tool at the local level. Because one of the points that you mentioned is how expensive it is to have this litigation outside these countries where the problems are taking place. How have you been able to use this litigation or the outcome of this litigation effort as a kind of a tool to reform the legal system in these countries, to change policies in this country, and then perhaps to encourage the judiciary of this country to take the same approach that judges in this country, in the US, have taken. So I think it would be useful to have an insight in terms of the multiplying effect, if you like, of this litigation. Then the last point is, I want to ask a question. Do you think now there's a compelling case to campaign for some sort of international fund for the victims of these kind of corporate abuses? After all, we have a kind of a trust fund in the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. So I would think that perhaps, given all these experiences that you've shared tonight, that there's a compelling case to begin to campaign for that kind of fund. Many thanks.
Thank you. So would you like to ask your questions?
Hello, my name is Ian Murphy. I'm doing the graduate diploma in law. And my question is, we've discussed a lot about taking action against companies. Now, okay, we can't succeed in actions against companies. The companies can pay over a lot of money, but the actual individuals within these companies who are responsible for huge atrocities, just looking at the videos, they're getting away scot-free. Can more be done to get criminal convictions against the worst perpetrators? Thank you.
So if you're okay, I'm going to ask one more person to ask questions because we are getting quite a queue towards the end.
Hi, my name is Jenny Rosenberg. I'm with the Institute of Commonwealth Studies Human Rights Programme. I was just wondering about the trend towards sort of financial settlements that seem to be happening. And obviously for a lot of these companies, the money isn't really an issue. And you said yourself it's not really about the money. So I was wondering if you set out with a sort of aim of public awareness and shaming of the company, and that whether a financial settlement, I understand it's important to as well to compensate the clients, but whether in general a financial settlement's a bit of a sort of secondary goal. Thank you.
Thank you. So there are 5 questions, and I can take you through them.
Perhaps I'll just start. Just to kind of go with the last question first, is that, as Paul was saying earlier, in answer to one question, in the end, we as lawyers are driven by our clients. clearly, I think both of us would feel that there's a strong campaigning element to our work, but in the end, the fundamental driving force to our work is gaining compensation for our clients. Now, there are lots of ancillary parts to what we can achieve through our work, but in the end, if a client is to say to us, look, if the defendant is offering some money and they want to accept it, well, it's our job as lawyers to accept that offer, and at times that means that there are confidentiality agreements. It means that the public doesn't get to know as much as it should, that there are not big trials, which I agree in some ways in society it provides difficulty, but in the end you've got to appreciate we as lawyers have our ultimate responsibility is to our clients, and we take instructions from them. In relation to corporate manslaughter or corporate accountability in terms of individuals within companies, I think it's a fair question, is that I think there's been increasing interest in the idea that individuals within companies should take responsibility. There's been more legislation in this country in relation to corporate manslaughter and all that sort of stuff. But I think we're still a long way away from holding individuals to account for these sort of actions. But I agree with you. I think that if in the end you can pinpoint the individual who are actually making the decisions and there could be more criminal charges relating to it, I think we would see a lot fewer cases. I was in that kind of question. Remember that famous picture in the US of the 5 tobacco executives putting their hand up when they said, about whether they believe that cancer was caused by smoking or not. I think that pinpointing individuals within companies is a very good way of encouraging people to the view that their decisions really mean the difference for a lot of lives. In terms of corruption, clearly from our work, and indeed the time with the state, our work is mainly about taking on companies. It's sometimes about taking on British government, certainly from our view. In terms of the impact of corruption, I simply have to say that my poor old clients in the Ivory Coast who are waiting for their compensation that Trafigura have paid and have the big problem at the moment that somebody's trying to steal the money within the Ivory Coast and who is trying to do it within the Ivorian system, and whether they'll actually, the clients actually receive the money remains a big issue. And so kind of in that sort of sense, corruption is a massive problem when you're operating, particularly in societies that you don't know a great deal about. So it is a concern, but at times there's not much we can do as private lawyers about it.
Do you want to say something about the state accountability and the international fund?
I'll leave that to Paul.
Okay, I'll also go last first. First of all, we don't try to lose cases. I mean, that's one, in terms of not making money. It's not we're not like that trying to not make money. We actually would like to make money for our clients and for ourselves, but it's not the main reason. And I think for the clients, there are much bigger issues than money in all these cases. And so, I think that if we were able to win and collect more, that would be great. But in every case I've been involved in, that has not been the driving force for the case. In terms of individuals, we sued 2 individuals in Doe versus Unocal. We sued the chairman of the board and we sued the CEO, which did not make them very happy with us. They were able to obtain dismissals under U.S. law. And I think this is actually in the civil context as opposed to the criminal context. I think we're going to start suing corporate executives more. Now that's going to limit what we can do because we may not be able to get jurisdiction over some of them, particularly foreign corporations. But for U.S. corporations, I think putting some individual corporate executives on the dock in the civil cases would get their attention in ways that the other cases would not. In terms of the state accountability issue, it's one of the big gaps that under traditional international law principles and under U.S. law and under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, it's very difficult to sue foreign sovereigns for things that happen outside of the United States territory. And so, for example, we sued